Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf. Grab a seat and relax. I put on my best radio voice for you all because there's a lot going on here in the cursed United States of America.
Yeah.
Quick heads up at the top of the show. If you're listening to this, this is recorded immediately after the U.S. presidential election. Needless to say, both of us are distressed.
I don't even
Amanda a little bit more so, just because this is my actual yard.
Yeah. Understandably, I'm not claiming anything.
Carola's already got to learn about the ammo vending machine.
Yep. Thank you for that information that I now have stored in the back of my mind.
So, when she comes and visits.
No. No! Actually.
When she comes and visits, I can take her to the ammo vending machine. So, we, as you can tell, are going to use humor and comedy to cope because that's what we do.
Yep.
This election result has also reminded me of how important shows like this are to continue to try to teach empathy and understanding using communication, particularly cross-cultural communication. So we are going to keep doing our gay little podcast. We're going to keep laughing and keep expressing joy, but please know that we are not fully aware of how catastrophic this is, how horrifying this is, and how scared we are.
This is just us actively dissociating from the hellscape that is the world.
Yes. And if you
can come dissociate with us.
Yeah, come laugh with us. If this brings any joy to you after what happened, that makes me so happy. Yeah. So please know that we are laughing and joking, and we're still continuing with our gay little podcast, not because of ignorance, but because this is how we are choosing to move forward after the events that occurred.
Yeah, and I think if you follow us on socials, if you're in our Discord, you've seen us talking about the importance of self-care in these trying times, like in general, but especially right now. And like, if you need to take some time off, like play a video game, read some gay manga, listen to this podcast, like you cannot keep fighting if you burn out. So please take some time to relax if you can. Drink water.
Please drink water.
Try to eat something.
Yes.
We're all in this together. Yeah? Good.
I had a delicious breakfast this morning. I bought very fancy butter.
Wow. Look at you. Fancy butter.
I put on my makeup. I had the fancy butter for breakfast. I had a fancy coffee at home. It's been lovely. So, on with the show. Yay. But we just wanted to put that out there. I know our listeners, our core listeners, don't need to hear that from us. But we always have to keep in mind, this might be someone's first episode. Which, again, how did you find us? How did you get here? I love that. How did you find us?
Why is this the first episode? Like, let us know. I am genuinely curious. Did you just Google terrible men? And
bad men, and then we were the first result to pop up. So, as we mentioned previously, we're trying so hard to hold it together.
We are just like held together with like, a piece of string and
yeah,
and like a glue stick at this point.
I bought a pin that says "We are all truly dogs in God's hot car."
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
So this month, we're going to talk about our collective bad taste in fictional men. Because here's one thing about bad fictional men. This is not an isolated phenomenon. This is not something that happens in quiet seclusion.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Mm,
I can't relate. I don't understand what you're
oh
talking.
no, not at all.
No.
This is this is a collective decision that we are making and have been making since fandom.
Excuse me, I just want to point out that I did not choose this life. This life chose me.
Listen, I was just talking about some not great fictional bad men. I have always been like this.
Hmm.
I have perpetually been like this. I consistently bet on the wrong horse.
I mean, I've said this before, with the exception of how my cousin and I used to play that we were evil and we would sit in the
You turn
dark
the lights
laughing. Yeah.
Yeah. That is still the purest, dumbest thing I've ever heard from you, and I love it.
I cannot. Oh, this is so wild. Yeah, but apart from that, I feel like I genuinely, like, for the most part, I was always on the side of the good guys
Mhm.
until I was like 11, and it like started with Team Rocket, and then I just fell off a cliff. And but you see, there are no bad men. They all have their reasons.
See, okay, that actually brings us to our first point. Wait a goddamn minute. Didn't you hoes just talk about being villain fuckers?
Yes,
Yes.
we did.
Your point?
I don't know. What do you want from me?
What do you want? I think this is a good place to bring up that in this instance there is a clear distinction between being villains and being just not a great guy. At least to me, and Carola, feel free to back me up or not, since you got the outline today.
Oh my god, why is my life like this? Yes.
Villains, to call someone a villain always brings this air of almost cartoonishness to it. And I think it also brings a very, very interesting perspective issue to it, because especially so many modern villains really are just maligned people
Yeah.
or marginalized groups. So I struggle with the term villain on a good day. But this is really more for those like morally gray, complex characters. This allows us to bring in more like live action shows, because remember, even if we're not talking about BL, we're talking about BL and fandom.
Yeah. These are not
So,
straight.
So it allows us to open up that field a little bit, because it feels weird to say that like one of my favorite fictional bad men is Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. That man isn't a villain. He's a douchebag. And he hates his children. And he's mean. But he's not a villain. He's just not a good person.
Why is my first thought, my first comparison is like, okay, I see your point, because Endeavor is like current top hero, but all of those things.
Endeavor doesn't hate his children.
No, but wow.
He doesn't hate his children.
At least not anymore. I feel like it could have been a little bit more.
That is a load bearing not anymore. I need a stud finder for that. That not anymore.
What do you want me to say? One of
That
them
not anymore is holding up the entire fucking house.
One of them went into the woods and lit himself on fire. The others actively dissociated through their lives. And the final one, well, he's not doing very well, is he? I'm just saying, I see some parallels here.
I wonder why.
I've never seen that before with you. Hmm. No, but I agree with you because I think, like, again, if you look at, depending on like what kind of story you're looking at, right? Like you say, like a villain, you immediately think of like a super villain, you know, people who want to
Yeah.
destroy the earth, people who are like
Yeah.
doing vile things for evil reasons. But if you are the main character in a story and someone is like really mean to you, they are the villain in your story, but it's really just a guy who's just like,
Yeah.
who you just hate. Like, you could be working together, and this is the guy who steals your lunch every day. If someone stole my food, Amanda, in this economy, villain. I'm just.
But it's true. And like I broke out a whole section in here about like perspective when it comes to villains. Because I think that's one thing that we didn't cover a lot in the villain fucker episode because we had a lot to cover. But if you think about perspective, you know, like in Trigun, Knives is the hero of this story if it's told by him.
Right?
Vash is an idiot and weak and doesn't know what he's doing. Knives is the cowboy hero of this story if he's the one telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
In Gravitation, Toma Seiguchi is the hero, and Suichi Shindo is a random interloper who is trying to steal away his precious brother-in-law.
In Toma's head, yes. In Shuichi's life. Actually, bless his soul, we'll be talking more about him later this year, I fear. Because I think that Shuichi...
What? Is this a threat?
No, it is a foreshadowing. But yeah, no, because Shuichi, I think if Shuichi had used his brain a little more, he would have seen Seguchi Toma as a villain. But he's in a tricky position, okay? Because he's like, suddenly he's in gay with this author who almost ran him over, and one of his idols is said guy's brother-in-law who keeps trying to get him away from him. Like, it's complicated. It's like if you know, a member of, I don't know, Luna Sea tried to like sabotage my life. I'd be like, okay, this is very not cool, Sugizo, but I like you. You know, it's like, yeah, complicated. Sugizo is a great person.
I'm just gonna let you dig that hole. Enjoy it.
I don't know what's happening.
I'll give you a shovel. I will just watch you dig that hole, and I fully respect it. But I think there's so much about villains that just feels like an incomplete term. You know, again, like a lot of my roots are in comic books. And I think about, you know, famously gay villain Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor has some very valid concerns about the literal alien from space who has superpowers that no one can defeat.
I mean, if you look at it from, like, you know, the perspective we're in right now, you would be a little concerned. Like, people are worried. Deeply. Yeah, like, we use the term, I mean, not we, because, you know, we see people as other human beings, but, you know, humans use the term alien to describe people who are crossing borders, right? Correct. And here's a dude from literal outer space with powers you know nothing about. Like, I mean...
Right. Like, that's why there was a whole movie about that, my favorite, which is Justice League Gods and Monsters, where Luthor is right. Superman was literally... He still falls out of the sky, but is raised by illegal immigrants and grows up in that community, and then he becomes a horrifying laser dictator.
Superman?
Wow. Justice League Gods and Monsters, not a sponsor, one of my favorite DC animated movies. But that's why we're here to talk about bad men, not less than ideal men, and especially the collective part. Because one thing that we did discuss while talking about villains is how in early fandom, being a villain fucker was a slightly isolating thing. Everyone wanted your bouncy main character, and I was over here just staring at Envy for too long. Don't judge me.
I
Fun fact, I was going to record a video yesterday for my YouTube channel. I didn't because I got overstimulated and tired. But this shelf fell over and Mustang and Envy fell.
Oh no.
And I was trying to reposition them. And in my frustration, I just blurted out, Roy, why can't you be straight? And I laughed to myself for a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah. Poor Roy.
For
I
a solid 5 minutes, I was just like,
I had a brief moment yesterday where I was like, I saw a picture of the new, that thing that's been going around Tumblr for an age, with the whole child misspells Santa and asks Satan for a puppy, that thing,
yes.
That post. Apparently someone turned it into a film, which is coming out
with Jack Black.
Yeah, with Jack Black and Chris Hemsworth as Krampus. And I saw this picture and I was like, why is Krampus Hemsworth so hot? And then I was like, God damn it, Amanda's gonna call me a monster fucker again. And I just,
Oh, Amanda's not going to do anything. Amanda's going to watch you dig your own hole.
I just thought I'd put that out there because I was thinking.
See, and you brought it up all by yourself.
Yeah, because
I didn't have to prod.
No, because I wanted to share with you that I think about you.
I am so happy to sit here and do my nails and watch you dig your own grave. It makes me so happy.
Can I get one of those chambers for that grave?
Yes. Yes, you can. We don't want you getting cold.
No, I'm already cold.
So, why do we love Bad Fictional Men? And let's be realistic. Even if you don't think that you love a bad fictional man,
you're lying.
I was trying to be gentle.
Yeah. No. I mean, I understand because I did send you a flustered message
you did.
in the Times pre-ending of the world earlier this week, where I was like, tell me why I can't remember my first terrible fictional man.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't know who the first one was.
I think by this metric, and we mean truly terrible, we mean not villain terrible, but just not great. My first is probably Sebastian from Cruel Intentions.
Ugh, Sebastian.
Just not a good, but and that's what we mean. So illustrative point. If you haven't watched Cruel Intentions, congratulations, you haven't come out. Yeah, you haven't come out as queer yet. But it's a rite of passage movie.
Listen, I was watching, shocking absolutely no one. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning watching figure skating, and they played Bittersweet Symphony, and I was dying. It was a terrible remix with an upbeat, terrible.
Oh, ew.
But still, I know what I felt at that moment.
Yep. So Sebastian, played by the hottest man the early 2000s could give us. With his ramen noodle hair and everything.
Oh, the ramen noodle hair, yeah. And his plush lips and puppy
his
dog eyes.
Pouty lips.
How how he has these puppy dog eyes even though he's such a
prick.
I was going to say predator, but then I realized that the connotations to that are not great.
No, especially Chet's notes now.
That's not what I meant, but he's more of a cat with pointy teeth that wants to eat. Yes.
Whore.
He is a whore. And I love that. I love him.
Too.
I think that if I had been victimized by him, I probably wouldn't have loved him.
But see, that's a mindset issue. What I'm hearing is, Sebastian fucked me. I still win.
I mean, true. I'd probably be mad at first, but then it's
You got to turn that mindset into a grind set. What I'm hearing is Sebastian fucked me.
I mean, that's a win. He's I mean, yeah, but it also depends on like how are you going into it? You know, like are you expecting him? Yes. Although I'm sure that he's equally good in, I don't know, Chair.
I don't Cheers.
I don't know. No, but my point is like you don't go in, into something like that with a guy like Sebastian and expect like white roses in marriage.
No, you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's about your mindset, like and
yeah. But I think he's such a great example of like calling him a villain feels very short-sighted. He's not a villain. He's not a good person.
Nope.
But we're not going to call him a villain. He has a perfectly fuckable stepsister that is.
Oh, that girl is a criminal mastermind.
She is, and I love her.
She is
the most beautiful woman.
I think that is like Sebastian, like you said, he's not a great person, but of course, here I come, torches blazing with but you don't like, there are circumstances in Sebastian's life that has made him misguided, and then he has like, yeah, and then where the fuck are the parents? And he's alone in this house with this extremely manipulative. And like, this is not a misogynistic blaming the girl. This is me blaming the criminal mastermind of this movie.
Yeah, like this is the rare instance. Yeah, this is the rare instance where we are blaming a woman and it is completely her fault.
It's yeah, no, he isn't he's not a great guy. But then she's over evil. Here, like, she is cruel. That's the whole point of the film. And like, she is just cruel. I don't know what his excuse is, but
I'm sure that you guys weren't expecting a detailed discussion about Cruel Intentions. It's a great movie. If you haven't watched it in a while,
it is fantastic. I haven't seen it in so long. Also, just for and like, oh yeah. I mean, there are gay people in that film. We can.
There are gay people that watch that film.
I am the gay person watching that film. But also just watch it for a lot of reasons. Like, for instance, the iconic scene of Reese Witherspoon doing the little demon horns in the car. Like, I love her. Like, I love that scene. She's
a very young Sunday school Reese Witherspoon. Just some
great soundtrack.
Women. Amazing. We're not going to talk about Cruel Intentions all day, I promise.
No, but it is a great example.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where, this is not someone who is evil or terrible and is in truth capable of redemption, even though I think that's a cop-out pussy move. Let him be bad until he dies, and then that way he really earns getting hit by that fucking car.
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the film.
Just saying, he deserves to be hit by that car. Him turning good for 5 minutes at the end does not make up for Check's notes, a decade of being a horror monster. So what you're saying is like fucking Sebastian makes you a monster fucker. That's what I'm hearing. Carola, I'm just gonna give you a shovel. In your Christmas present this year, you're gonna get a selfie of me next to the ammo vending machine, and you're gonna get a shovel. And I'm just gonna let you dig. I just wanna you do realize that they don't even have ammo vending machines in Resident Evil games? What is the dystopia that you are living in? Please feel free to, if you're confused about that sentence, please feel free to ask us in the comments what ammo vending machine is. I learned about these today, and I'm sure Carola will be more than happy to explain. I will explain in a perfectly level-headed way. Yes. I have the list right. Yeah. Why do we love these bad fictional men? And I can come up with some examples that aren't from Cruel Intentions. A big one is, of course, Hannibal from Hannibal. That's a huge one that comes to mind. Because calling him a villain feels wrong. Now, by the time you get to Silence of the Lambs, that is a villain. That is a me,
No,
mustache.
but like, I mean, because I haven't seen the series, right? I've only seen the films, the film series. I have never watched the TV series, and I don't like. Okay, sure. So he's in jail for eating people, but he only ate people who deserved it,
Yes.
and he has his reasons.
Yes.
And it started with those soldiers eating his sister. Like, excuse me, man wanted revenge. He was a boy, and then I feel like he's brilliant. He's intelligent.
He's handsome.
He doesn't kill you unless you really did something that makes him want to kill. Like, I don't think he's a villain, really. I mean,
I don't either.
He's a serial killer, but he's not a villain.
But I mean, also, the other example that comes to mind if we're sticking with like Western TV shows is like Dexter.
Which
Dexter
I also haven't watched. But
where have you been?
No, but it's very hard to watch these things with this phobia. It's difficult. I've avoided a lot of like.
I understand.
Now that we have like good warning systems, it's different. But back then we didn't.
I will go through and watch the entire series just for you and edit out moments. But again, even though we're not talking about BL, we're talking about BL. There's no straight read of Hannibal anywhere.
Truly.
There's not. Please, if you find it, let me know. I'm in that camp of people. They were doing like an AO3 breakdown, and it's like, top hetero ships, and like people write hetero ships.
I keep forgetting. It's like, because you taught me about those cakes, right? The Hear Me Out cakes.
Yes.
Yes. And then right after you introduced me to them, when we talked about it, whenever that was, the first thing that happens is that one pops up in my Twitter feed, and it's and it's full of like straight ships, and the person who like quote tweeted this was just as confused as I was, and I'm like we have to remember that I love Team Rocket, and that at heart I am a Rocket shipper, and they are checks notes. Straight-ish. I mean, they marry each other, so like, and I wanted them to marry each other, and they're straight, so they exist. I just very rarely find a straight couple to be invested in real life, in current fandoms.
Shovel.
When was the last time you cheered for a straight couple in anything?
Cheered? Never. Because I'm trying to protect the woman from having her character arc destroyed because of an incompetent man.
I mean, I will say, and I think we've talked about this before, though, like that. I also enjoy shoujo, and like in the shoujos that are like not like Peach Girl, the trauma of my life, but like something like Kimi ni Todoke, yes, I root for the main couple, but that's different. I'm not going to be watching. Yes.
Do you want to get back to BL? Are you good?
Yes, please. I don't know what I'm talking about here.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I am trying.
I'm trying to steer us back towards gay waters, and you keep talking about straight people.
No, I was trying to talk about straight people, but clearly, I don't have a lot of.
Let me just navigate this boat back into gay waters.
Thank you. I feel much more at home.
Yeah. So fictional bad men. If you want a BL example, I'm going to pull one out of my ass, and it's not going to be a shock to anyone. But Yashiro from Twittering Birds Never Fly.
Yes.
His entire group, honestly.
Or any other wonderful, sexy Yakuza mafia type character. If you are a Yakuza, there are some implications that come with that.
So I think think the thing with Yashiro is that him being Yakuza isn't the problem. For whatever reason, him being Yakuza is the most normal thing about him. He's... There's so many other things that he does that makes him terrible. And then being Yakuza is just like...
I don't understand what you're talking
somewhere
about.
at the bottom of the list. There are so many other things he's done that makes him awful. And then being Yakuza is like... number 10.
Yeah. But I mean, can relate, because obviously I'm going to bring my own mafias to the table here. My beautiful mafia husbands. But okay, because if you look at Kin, he's just doing his job. You know, like, okay, so he is a mafia heir, he shoots people in the face, you know.
As you do.
As you do. But it's his job. Like, his dad gave him that job. He's just doing what's expected of him. He's also, you know, sweet and silly and, you know, a good provider for his family, whatever. But he is a mafia. But if you compare him to his horrible, slimy cousin Vegas, he is also a mafia. But that, again, is like number 10 on that list, because there are a lot of other things about that man.
Right, because, you know, and this is a topic for another episode. Manga is never sure how to feel about the Yakuza, especially BL, because then we get series like Honto Yaju, which still hasn't ended.
One day, I'm going to look through all of our episodes, and I'm just going to make a compilation about you talking about Honto Yaju being ongoing. Like, I'm over here, like, blissfully unaware because I stopped reading it so early because it was ongoing and it got licensed. So, like, I fell off so long ago, I don't even remember what it's about anymore.
Honto Yaju, which is still going for some fucking reason. Also has a Yakuza Uke, which is very, very funny to me. With a policeman, Seme, which, haha, Japan. Clever. Clever girl. Clever girl.
Okay, I'm fine.
That was way more patronizing than I was hoping it would come off, but
like, you just gendering the entire nation of Japan and then patronizing it.
Wow. I think it's the red lipstick. That was so much more patronizing than I was expecting. But, you know, they try to make this Yakuza in Honto Yaju like, oh, it's just like a dumb thing. He wears crazy suits and he occasionally does like a petty crime, as opposed to Yashiro, who's like, yeah, go ahead and kill all these guys. But wait, let me fuck that one first. And then kill him. So, you know, if we want to bring it down to the BL level, BL is full of this type of guy. Realistically, every seme from like the 90s to the early 2000s is this guy.
Yeah.
None of them are great. None of them are good. Naoki from Jazz comes to mind. What was that?
No, there's just a reel in my head of all of these.
Yeah, it's just
terrible,
awful 90s.
Like, which is exactly like, because I mean, we use a lot of like Yakuza as examples because it's so, you know, like, that isn't obvious, but like you say, that's not necessarily the worst part about them. But like, if you are Yakuza, like, that is inherently not a good thing to be. Like, it doesn't mean that you're pure evil, but it also, like, you are at best morally great, right? But a lot of these, especially 90s, early 2000s anime, manga, semi characters are just bad people. Like, they're just like, it was like, and they have, like, it's not like they're, you know, they're not bad, like, all the way through. Like, yeah, they have good sides to them, but they do choose not to show those.
Right. And I really feel like we could have a whole episode on just like the limiting issue with like bad 90s, early 2000s semis because it was a plague.
It truly was.
It was a plague. None of them were good. In hindsight, none of them passed the Bechdel test. All of them are terrible.
And like going back to Gravitation.
Aries awful.
I love him so much. And like
He's so bad.
But like he learns and he develops and he improves over the course of the manga in particular. But when you look at like the semi-canon and canon doujins that have come out in, you know, the more recent years, and you look at the most recent one, you look at The Novelist is in a Good Mood, which, you know, is the one that devolves into them having sex on a couch and Shuichi beginning to hallucinate tentacles, which is wild. But before the tentacles, they are watching TV and they're watching a recording of, you know, Shuichi's band playing on some music show on TV, and Yuki's sitting there like commenting on it, and he's so mean about it. Like, they're in their 30s, they've been together for at least 10 years, and he's so mean about it, and Shuichi's sitting there like, oh, in Yuki speak, you know, because he's translating to the reader, and he's like, in Yuki speak, this means that he's impressed and he's proud of me. I'm like,
no.
What was it with these men that were just like, I am allergic to giving compliments. I need to say something cruel. It's like, you know, it's almost like on a tsundere level. It's like, you know, there's a scene in Yarichin Bitch Club that comes to mind where, because Tamura is actually a closeted tsundere, and like he's really in love with Yachan. And whenever he opens his mouth and talks to Yachan, he says something terrible to him, like, yeah, wow, thanks, ugly. And then on the inside, he's like, why the fuck did I say that? I'm like, because you, sweetie, you may be a verse, but you're a sim at heart, aren't you? Like, you're just damaged.
But I think, like, especially, again, when we go back to our collective taste, because really that's the true title, is our collective taste in bad men. I think so many of us having roots in these 90s, early 2000s semis very much led us to having a predilection, let's say, towards these future trash men. And I can definitely see that, you know, like I can see the roots of my attraction to garbage men and how far they stretch. So like Carola bringing up that I seemingly have a thing for bad dads. I don't know, almost like I have some trauma about that.
Maybe.
I was talking to a friend and I was saying, you know, I remember being in high school and, you know, people that I was dating find out that I don't have a father and they're like, oh, that means you have daddy issues, right? Like that's something that's sexy.
I think I'm having a stroke. What? Why would you say that to someone?
Carola, go ask the man in a leather trench coat and trip pants from 2005.
No.
With painted nails and heavy eyeshadow, who can play clocks on the keyboard, and I was super impressed by him being able to play Clocks by Coldplay because it was 2005. He looks like a Neo cosplayer from The Matrix. Go ask him, Carola.
I will say that when you describe him like that, he sounds pretty.
Go ask him.
No.
Go find him working at whatever fucking, I was going to say Radio Shack. Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore. Walmart entertainment section he's working in. You go find him.
Okay.
And you ask.
I'll do that after I've gone to see the fucking vending machine.
He's probably not far. Go find whatever overweight, middle-aged, balding man I've avoided for all these years. Next to the Yaoi Shelf quest, Carola finds out about the canonical boyfriends. Because there's a list.
Of course there is.
It's like Scott Pilgrim. They're the canonical boyfriends. And there's the non-canonical boyfriends. And I don't have a type. Don't worry about it.
No, that's fine.
I can see the roots of that stretches very far backwards. I can see how my taste in men in yaoi and BL almost predicts my taste in men in other shows that I have fandom feelings about.
Mm.
So like I know for some people when I got into Game of Thrones, because like I did Game of Thrones way later than everyone else. And I mostly treat it, I know this is bad, but I mostly treat it like Harry Potter, that like, oh, it's all these different houses and they all have their mottos. And like, I still don't like Game of Thrones at its core, but if I can just treat it as like stupid chess, I have a great time with it.
Yeah.
But like people were always so shocked when it's like, oh, some of my favorite characters in Game of Thrones are like this, and it's like, fucking why? And then I like just like hold up the scroll of all the other bad fictional men that I like, and it's like, oh right, you can draw a line to how do you get from Shao Tucker to Tywin Lannister.
Yeah. No, I do that too. I definitely have types.
Yeah, you can draw a maze line through how do you go from Shao Tucker past Endeavor and get to Tywin Lannister.
We should make like a you know, like an activity book for our listeners. Just like
connect the dots. How do you get from Moriarty? Just no. I would have the police called on me. They'd be like, I'm too concerned about this person. But
yeah,
you know, they would see like the top 5 and it's just like, hello, I'd like to call in a welfare check. I'm concerned about this human being. But we love bad fictional men because again, like calling some of these men villains feels inappropriate. I mean, realistically, calling anyone a villain in My Hero Academia feels wrong. Most of the villains are just maligned people.
I mean, some of them are literal villains, though.
Are you referring to the Potato Father?
What Potato Father?
AFO.
No, I'm talking about my beloved crusty man who literally wants to destroy society. Like,
because he's a maligned person?
Yeah, okay, yes.
With daddy issues?
I know it's difficult when you put it like that because this is
he's
the
a
thing.
He's a mental illness allegory. You want to call him a villain?
Because this is why when we were talking about this, when we were beginning to prepare for this episode, I went through this crisis because I don't think any of my men are bad.
We're going to talk about baby girlification later.
No, it's not baby girlification, Amanda. They all just have reasons, okay?
They do. Like, there's really I struggle with calling anyone in the LOV a villain. They're just maligned, non-baseline people. And they have quirks that aren't beneficial to society, which, especially in this political climate, you can read a whole lot of allegory into that. Because it's just X-Men.
Truly. No, but yeah.
It's just X-Men.
And I also think, like, it's also, like, sometimes, and I think that we touched on this in the villain fucker episode and talking about villains, that sometimes, like, almost like all you can do is, like, not take it seriously. Like, even if these are very serious issues. Like, if you look at someone, like, I mean, not BL adjacent at all, Magneto? But, like, no, I was gonna say Gaston. Like, because if you look at Gaston, he is a prime example of a misogynistic chauvinist, right? And these men exist, as we have seen this week in particular, but there's just something about putting him in a Disney film. Like, I just think he's so funny because he's so extreme.
Again, that Lex Luthor comparison. He is a misogynist, as was everyone else. And there is a literal beast in a literal castle that no one remembers. And people have literally gone missing. I think Gaston didn't do anything wrong. No, I don't think he belongs in a villain.
Well, maybe not in that aspect, but the whole, women shouldn't be reading, soon they'll have thoughts and emotions of their own. And
who wasn't saying that outside of Belle and Marie?
No, and then, preparing, his wedding, even though he hasn't proposed yet. Like, all of this is very... We see this in the real world, and if someone did those things to me, or if I was in the vicinity of someone acting like that, I would be incredibly disgusted. But because he's a fiction...
We're going to talk about why we keep saying fictional over and over again. Also, I'm going to say this might be a hot take. I don't think Gaston would be in the your body, my choice thing. I think he would still respect some level of autonomy and rights. I don't think it would be polite or discreet, but I would argue this Disney character is not a rapist.
I mean, if you want to talk about a Disney character who definitely is a rapist, we all know.
Judge Frollo?
Yeah.
My favorite?
Oh, God.
My favorite?
You know what? Did we talk about this? Because I was going to say at the top of the show, when you were talking about, I can't remember exactly what it was that you said, but it made me think about how, these days, all of the villains are getting their redemption arcs, right? And, Disney's, out there cranking out, behind the scenes and, oh, this is why Cruella is evil, and this is why Maleficent is evil, and stuff. Okay, I'm just waiting for the Judge Frollo movie, okay? What are they gonna do? How are they gonna defend this man? I am so afraid. I deadass would watch that film with you. I think that...
I would write that film. Disney, if you're listening.
Disney, if you're listening.
Disney,
Please
if you're listening.
We're already demonetized. We can't afford being sued by you, Disney. Please take everything we say with a grain of salt. We mean no harm. We do not own these characters.
Do you remember the old days when you had to tag that in your fan fiction?
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, hi, that was an interlude of us being old. But, why do we love these fictional men that are not always good?
Because they're catastrophic.
Well, yes. And I think there's a lot of overlap with why we're villain fuckers, but there's a slight few variances that makes this worthy of its own episode. Similar to villain fuckery, it is a safe place to explore some very complicated feelings.
Yes.
It is a safe place to explore some thoughts that, when I was doing a lot of OC work, I realized how much of my OC work, both hetero self-insert and I have made a pocket gay for this one universe, was wish fulfillment. It was, I wanted to stand at the precipice of a new dawn with knives. I was babygirl Legato, where I was like, surely kill all humans won't include me. I was... Shut up.
I didn't say anything! Who's digging a hole now? I said nothing! I was so quiet.
Me in the fictional lepers eating faces party. Surely when he says kill all the humans, I'll be safe. Thanks to the power of my pert fictional breasts.
Can I just just make a quick insert here and say that particularly in this past week, because the world is going to hell.
Correct.
Every single time people talk about the leopards eating people's faces party, I think about that one episode of Blackadder. when they
Yes.
are doing the election, and and you have
Yes.
the stupid people at the back being stupid and looking stupid party. Like that is all I can
Yes.
think of every single time
Because
I hear
that's
of
what it is.
celebrity. Because
But
that's what it is.
that's what it is. But it's a safe place to explore some very complicated feelings. So, like, think about me and my writing journey, especially back then. Being black, being biologically female. While we weren't economically limited, and we still aren't. My family being we, not we. There were definitely still, economic things that I felt like I could never achieve. So many of my characters, whether I invented this twink just for the sake of gay stuff, which is being a fanfic writer.
Mm-hmm.
I have invented this twink and I am his god.
Yeah,
Or
can
it
relate.
was female self insert. It was to explore some complicated feelings that I had about gender, about race, about power, about accessibility to goods. We talked about that in the villain fucker episode. And I think that that's true still. That looking at these bad fictional men is a great way to put yourself comfortably in the shoes of someone who is allowed to be complex.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm a black woman in an office. I am not usually afforded complexity. I get called loud if I'm just speaking. I'm considered angry if I voice my opinion. I am arrogant if I am correct. It's why Kamala Harris didn't win. America hates a lot of things, but they hate a smart black woman almost the most.
Oh yeah. And look where
So-
that's taking them.
So, by being able to put a liking into these, so like one of the ones that came to mind, and this one is BL fandom related, is House.
Hmm.
I love House. He is absolutely married to Wilson, and I will accept no further comments. But like a world where people are not judged by a medical world where people are not judged by race, class, sexuality, or preference. House is terrible to everyone.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, because I was just you went. You are correct. I have not watched House, but you are correct. But
I am.
because where I thought you were gonna go was what I was saying to my mom yesterday about how most medical drama shows are, they're science fiction because the doctors are always like, "Oh, don't worry, I am going to do everything in my power to find out what's wrong with you," as if normally they wouldn't be just like, "I have no idea what this is. Go away."
Sucks to suck. Throws
Exactly.
chart.
I really thought that's where you were gonna go, but you are correct because he is just equally terrible to everyone.
Yeah, House is terrible to everyone. It doesn't matter who or what you are. It's funny you say that because I do have ER playing in the background because I've needed some comfort in these days. I love that show.
I know, and you've had ER on for so many of our episodes. So like,
listen, if you guys draw nothing else from this podcast, watch Cruel Intentions, watch ER, watch House,
watch Kim.
And don't question why. Sure, I'm too tired to fight you.
Please.
No, he doesn't speak English.
No, but please is also a Norwegian word.
Oh,
no,
I was taught by Americans. What do you want?
Because we use it so much, but it's different. Like, because if I say it in English, it's like please, and if I say it in Norwegian, it's please. You hear the difference?
Little fairy sing-song voice? Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Okay, he needs to go out so he can come back in 10 minutes. I'll be right back. Hold that thought.
I'm not going anywhere.
Good.
Feels like
you have to entertain the audience.
As Carola takes off every piece of clothing. Hello, audience. It's just me for a few minutes while Carola lets the cat out. I hope you are enjoying this brief reprieve from the current hellscape that is going on outside. And if you need someone to talk to, please know that we are always here for you, except for the times that we are asleep. And then I will be ready to speak to you upon waking in the morning. Hello, welcome back. I was just telling the audience that if they needed someone to talk to, please feel free to reach out to us, except for the times that we are asleep, in which we cannot help you.
My sleep schedule right now is absolutely insane.
But it also takes you 3 to 5 business days to respond to anything.
Yeah, except, see, you may have noticed that I am quicker this week. And do you know why? Because I am supposed to be editing a manuscript, and I am doing everything in my power to procrastinate because I hate editing. So I am out there responding to messages and like...
I know Carola has been very helpful this week, and now I know why.
Yeah, but also because like I genuinely was concerned about everyone's well-being.
Yes. But so a safe place to explore some complicated feelings. In that vein, free therapy.
Yes, but I also want to just tack on to what you said about complexity.
Please, do it.
Because that's another thing. And again, we talked about this when we talked about villains, and when we've talked a lot about, why we prefer male characters over female characters. Like, a lot of this comes back to the same thing, which is complexity. And
yes.
A character who is only good, who is only, who only has like a good moral standing, that's not a character.
That's a lamp.
Yeah, they are flat. If you can replace that character with a lamp without it affecting anything, like, that's the thing, right? And so...
that's actually 2 bullet points down.
Okay, well, in that case...
But no, you're correct. Like, there is this level of complexity that female characters are rarely afforded. And when they are, society tends to hate them for doing the exact same thing that men do. I'm going to bring it back to Game of Thrones. Cersei Lannister is treated both in narrative and out of narrative like she is some horrible, evil monster for doing and playing the Game of Thrones exactly as her dad is, exactly as how everyone else is. I'm not saying she's a good person. I'm saying step on me, Lena Headey. That is what I'm saying. Just fucking gorgeous. But
that helps, doesn't it?
We are going to talk about adaptational attractiveness. It has been an hour. We are not anywhere in.
But it's because we have a lot of feelings.
Yeah, we are almost an hour in, and we have barely sunk in an inch. There is still 8 inches of narrative that we need to get through.
I don't understand how this keeps happening, but at least we're not just shoving it in, like, unlike the Samus of BL's past. Oh, yeah, no, I mentioned that because I mentioned that in the live because I was reading BJ Alex.
I just committed that sin in the second chapter of my sequel, Matt and Mellofic. So I have to write that Mello prepped himself before hopping on Matt's dick.
Well, but like, again, if
I have to go back and retroactively fix that because I dove into the horny too fast and broke a cardinal sin.
I mean, it happens, but
I have to go retcon that.
But you can also like kind of blame it on, these two idiots are so horny for each other. They're constantly doing it. And like, he's just, slick and open from before. Like,
he just showered. He should not still be slick and ready after bathing. I don't know what his hygiene routine looks like.
He is not. I will tell you this: he is not a straight man. Therefore, he washes his ass, and so you are correct.
Yeah, exactly. Because he's not worried about that being gay.
No, but what I was going at, like, there's also a difference because in BJ Alex, which I still have not finished because I have 2 volumes left because the world happened, but when Alex and whatever the hell GD, the main character, when they first have sex, it's like Alex has been, and again, like, he ties into this because he's not a great person. He is not a great person. He is incredibly arrogant and full of himself and cruel. And he has this idea that he's such a, oh, look at me. I'm such a, I'm so hot. I'm so attractive. Everyone wants me. I'm great. I'm a great lover. Proceeds to just shove it into this virgin hole with no preparation, and then gets mad when GD doesn't like it. And that is before we get to the scene where he gets all weird and misguided about the sex toys and commits some acts with the sex toys that makes GD cry, and then he doesn't understand why he's upset again. And I'm over here like,
are we ever going to finish this episode?
no! Because you need to understand that there are a lot of horrible men. And like the thing is like, but Alex, like I think that Alex is, you know, he's a good example because like he is, the more I read, the more, you know, and that's the thing with the story, right? Because he does some things that I would never excuse if someone did them to me, or if they were romanticized in some, you know,
we have a whole line about why we are going out of our way to say fictional.
Yeah, but you know, but it's also about framing. But I, you know, because if this was aimed at, you know, teenage girls and sold as pure romance, I would have been concerned. Yeah,
okay,
but he isn't a great person. But then, you know, but then he has aspects that make him interesting. And he is cruel because of those aspects, which is where I'm getting at. Like, there's the complexity, Amanda.
We're never finishing this episode. Welcome to the Yaoi Shelf 10-part series filmed by Ken Burns, where we go over point by point.
Yeah, can you imagine if we did a series where we just covered all the horrible men in our lives? We would never get finished. Even if we went with like the top ones, we'd be here forever.
It's literally free therapy.
Yeah.
So I have that with Jean-Baptiste because calling him a villain feels wrong. He's a Frenchman who happens to be abusive.
You are correct. Jean-Baptiste is
calling him a villain feels very short-sighted.
Yeah, like because like, okay, domestic abuse is in fact
bad,
illegal.
We're not. I'm not saying he's a good person. What I'm saying is calling him a villain. I feel like it almost minimizes the true issue, which is domestic violence.
Yeah.
Saying that he's a complicated man who does bad things grounds it a little to where we can discuss the real true horror, which is domestic violence and gaslighting. But calling him a villain like he's some supernatural rape beast, like he just rises out of hell every night and flaps around to do a non-con.
That's just no, because now you're over on, you know, like the Dracula-esque men of the
yeah, he's just every night. If you don't leave out a Mont Blanc, Jean-Baptiste rises from hell and flies around and does a non-con. Like,
oh my god, this is something you should be like telling children in your life if you don't leave a Mont Blanc.
If you don't leave a Mont Blanc out in some French films, Jean-Baptiste will rise out of hell. He's like the Mononongle.
Every year.
Bastille Day.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say every night before Bastille Day, you
don't leave out a French film, a pack of cigarettes, and a Mont Blanc. Jean-Baptiste will rise out of hell and do some non-con.
But he won't do it to you. He'll do it to your favorite fictional character.
He's gonna do it to someone else. You'll be fine. But you're doing this to protect your cinnamon roll.
You have to protect your cinnamon roll.
You have to protect your baby girl from...
You know, and of course the immediate first thought I have is like, Jean-Baptiste, stay the fuck away from Tamaki. Like...
Oh, he would have so much fun with
No!
Tamaki. Oh, he'd have a blast. I for one can't wait. But it's literally free therapy. We're never leaving.
I'm so sorry, listeners, maybe
No,
this
you're
is
not.
maybe this is what you needed today. Maybe it wasn't. I am so sorry. I have had so much Red Bull since November 1st, and I'm still only 3 chapters into this editing. I am about to go insane.
We are never. Oh, so like Jean Baptiste for me was in a lot of ways free therapy to work through some of my own past with violence in the home.
Mm.
I've been physically abused. I've explained this before. So Jean Baptiste, though not the same story, was in a lot of ways very therapeutic to watch because especially when you experience abuse young in life, it usually very easily gets gaslit and written away.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, this is what I had to do. I needed to do this. Look at what you made me do.
Yeah.
And hearing this horrible Frenchman do all the same things was way more beneficial than any therapist trying to tell me, oh, well, sweetie, it wasn't your fault. Okay, cool. It wasn't my fault. I still ended up at the bottom of the stairs.
Mm.
Awesome. You can tell me it's not my fault all day and all night. I'm the one that still got hit. What do you want? So it can be a safe sandbox to play through some of those feelings. It can even be a safe sandbox to horrifically murder those characters.
Yeah. And you know, and that is, you know, now you were talking about the therapeutic aspect, but also if you can also look at it from like, because I mean, I don't have that kind of trauma. Like I have a lot of like, I mean, clearly mental illness is a thing in my life and stuff, but I haven't been abused, right? I haven't been in that situation, but you know, and it feels fitting to mention him today because it's actually the birthday of one of my characters who is a victim of this character. So in my first novel series, there is this character. I talked about Aki before. Aki is a fuck up of a character. He's a fuck up of a boy.
Aki so much?
I love Aki.
I don't believe you.
Aki is my baby, and I adore him. And he is, contrary to what a lot of people believe, he is the character who's most like me. Because he and I are both horrible human beings, but he acts terribly in Jaded. It's particularly towards Yuki. Happy birthday, Yuki! I'm going to talk about your trauma, but because he has so many issues in his life and he takes them out on everyone around him because he doesn't know how to deal with his feelings. You know, he uses sex as a form of self-harm, as a form of, you know, as a weapon, and he weaponizes his own body and his own sexuality, and he weaponizes his, you know, lack of emotion towards other characters, and he genuinely acts terribly. And obviously, you know, he does, you know, he does a lot of things and says a lot of things that are terrible towards, you know, especially towards Yuki, who is hopelessly in love with him. But he and like, I didn't write him like that to express anything that I've gone through as much as it was to kind of like, partially because I knew he had to be fucked up and I knew why he was fucked up, which was why I wrote the first novel. But he had to, like, it's just a way of like, he is a product, first of all, of the BL semis and the BL characters that I grew up with that had such a terrible time managing their own emotions and, you know, acting like absolute asshats towards everyone else, but also because, you know, I wanted to show that you can be such an, you know, you can be such a dick towards everyone around you because you are a mess of a person on the inside.
I have a name.
Didn't realize you and Aki were the same person. But
is that why I don't like him?
So you don't like him. You're over here blaming me. Like, he is my precious child.
I don't believe you because you torture him.
Yeah, but that's only because I love him. I love him so much.
I love writers speak. It's like, here's this character that I put through literal hell in a handbasket, but he's my favorite and I love him.
Like, he has been, out of all of the characters I have written, he's been through so much. and I just keep throwing him into the fire because I love him. Okay.
But yeah, like it can be in a lot of places free therapy. I know one of the interesting things I think about reading BL now, especially as an adult, is it's picking up on those themes that I didn't understand when I was younger. So, like, one thing that I really ended up relating with when it comes to gravitation was how very under medicated or not medicated at all Yuki Eri is. And it's like, of course he didn't make of course he hasn't made a logical decision in 15 years. His brain is fucked. Like he does not know what he's doing. Like, so like him being severely under medicated or not medicated at all. Ryuichi, whose mental illness is used as a tool to make him perform, which feels like a minstrel show in so many fucking ways.
Oh my god.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
You know what? Let's just
you know,
laughs
it's amazing. Huh?
Laughs nervously.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Ryuichi.
The true indication of being correct is when it's like, oh shit. But it can be very, very liberating to work through some of these things. You know, I mentioned Knives a million times because I will keep talking about him because I love that scrunkly weird man.
You mentioned him a million times because that's literally his name.
It's Million Knives. But that was dies.
Oh my God, I can't do this anymore.
But when I was younger and struggling with so much misanthropy, I hated people when I was younger. I mean,
which still kind of do. Is a mood.
I hated people so much when I was younger. That was such a great way to work through that. Because, you know, he's a genocidal plant monster. And he's fictional. And he's not real.
Which helps.
Which leads us into sometimes not everything is rainbow and sunshine. Listen, I had the hardest time connecting with most MCs of most shows because I had this thing called trauma.
Yeah. And you know, I just want to put out there because like I immediately, because when you say sunshine, there is one character who pops into my head, you know?
Deku?
No! Naruto! He is the literal sun, but also literally everyone in that show has trauma. Like, it felt like the trauma Olympics when they started rolling out everyone's backstories. So I don't think that one counted. And I'm like, Kishi? And like, I was a teenager at this point. I'm like, why do you not want any of your characters to be happy? Like, not a single one.
Well, and I think that that's what makes Naruto so powerful, and especially with the ships that he often ends up getting paired with. Because while, of course, we only truly acknowledge one, there are multiple ships for Naruto.
Yes, but there's only one.
There are multiple ships.
But there's, yes. And I mean, there are multiple canon ships.
What was that noise? What was that judgmental little noise you made?
You know, I saw something the other day.
Yes.
We don't talk about the supposed sequel. Like, it doesn't exist. I don't know what it is. I've never heard about it. I don't know. You know, it doesn't exist. But, oh my god, he wants to go back in. Is it, like, I saw a tweet, and apparently Rock Lee has a child named Metal?
Yes.
Metal!
Yes. Because it's stronger than rock.
I hate it here.
What do you want from me?
I don't know. Like,
anyway,
it doesn't exist. I have to go let the beast back in.
We've had 2 cat breaks because we can't end this episode.
Yeah, but like, he does this all day, every day.
Hello and welcome back, dear listeners. This is going to be a long one. Why don't you take a break, go get some water? Hopefully, you are refreshed. If you're in the car, hello. We love people that listen in the vehicles. We hope that you're having as good of a day as possible. And we sincerely appreciate you sticking around for the duration of this episode. Corolla's back.
Speaking of terrible men, Sansa has decided to be the absolute worst today.
What does he do?
It's just terrible.
But yes, he does have a son named Metal, and that's not the worst part of Boruto. But one of the things that made Naruto as a ship component so interesting was how he did cope with trauma and how you could use different pairings to help either illuminate or hide how he copes. Because one of my favorite Sasunaru tropes was them going scorched earth together. That was one of my favorite Sasunaru tropes, was Sasuke basically saying, you have every right to hate everyone.
Yeah.
Why are you still pretending to be kind? You know, I think that's one of the reasons why I liked Gaara and Naruto together so much when I was younger, is that same thing. It's like, why are you lying? Why are you diluting yourself into thinking that you should be positive and kind when you have the strength to destroy the entire system that ruined everything for you? So that's what I was doing when I was younger.
But I mean, it's a good one. It is.
That's what I was doing when I was younger. But sometimes not everything is sunshine and rainbows, and I know like that's one of the big things. I have always loved shonen, but one thing I liked, especially about being in the golden age of shonen that we had, was again the complexity of the male characters we had. Is that even though yes, they were the Databayo move forward, no brain cells guy, they'd also been through a lot. I remember that, oh my god, so much with Ichigo Kurosaki in Bleach. Is that this was someone who had lost a parent, who was going through it, who, despite trying to be there for his friends, had a lot of fucking darkness in him.
Yeah, literally, as it
literally. Literally. And there's literally not a gayer character as far as I'm concerned in shonen. I don't care that he marries at the end of the series. That's not true. That is a gay man. It's never
true. That is just a cop-out.
That is at minimum a deeply bisexual man.
Oh my, okay, Sansa's just out here closing the chat window. At least it didn't close the browser. Jesus Christ. No, I still think Sasuke is gayer. Like, I think Sasuke is the most homosexual who ever homosexual, but yeah.
But it's nice to have these characters that are able to reflect that darkness that is inside of you. And the cool thing is, so like I had this with, again, not an original take, but he's good for this illustration with Yashido, where like there's so much about Yashido that feels like he's written just for me. There is so much about Yashido that is like, oh, thank you for writing a character for and about me. And what's amazing is how many people feel that way. Which one I think speaks a lot to Fujin.
Yeah.
We all could use a little help. But two, that even if his struggle is not one-to-one what you've been through, you can still feel what he's feeling, that need to perform, that need to... Can I help you, ma'am?
I'm taking a picture to send you of this creature, because this is fucking hilarious.
Yes.
He is so close to like knocking my microphone over because he's cuddling it very aggressively.
No. This is already going to be the longest fucking episode.
Again, new record.
Well, we're not there yet. But there's so much about him that you can relate to, even if it isn't one-to-one. There's so much in his struggle, in his feelings, in his coping mechanisms, or lack thereof,
Oh yeah.
that you can the utter lack of
The
coping.
lack thereof being a very important phrase here.
You know, there's when you're in therapy for a long time, you hear about people that are good in therapy and people that are good at therapy.
Mm.
I think Yashida would be great at therapy.
Oh yeah.
And listen to none of it. And then go home and nothing has changed.
I think, like, because being good at therapy, then
Yes.
you're doing the right thing. Then
Yep.
you will be out of there sooner. Jesus Christ, Sansa, shut up.
He is such a menace. I love him.
She's just so in love with the microphone, apparently. I sent
But
you some photos.
I love him. But yeah, like there's when things aren't always sunshine and butterflies, it is nice to have these like morally gray characters to lean on. Another trope that I especially like in BL, like one of my big tropes that I just like is like corruption in a weird way.
Mm.
Is I like drawing that positivity out of people. I'm not here to make anyone better. I'm here to make them worse.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, that is.
I'm here to make them worse. Well, but like think about how many like villain X main character pairings I have. I'm not here to fix anyone. I'm here to make them worse.
Mm-hmm.
Dig into that darkness that is already in your heart. Rule the world. Become a god king.
Yeah.
Because I don't have anything to work through. Don't tell my therapist. No. I'm fine.
But like, no, but a lot of these are also like, one thing that comes to mind, which again, Yakuza, which technically is not a BL, but it's a BL. Like, you're not
everything is a BL if we try hard enough.
Yeah, but like KX Yaku or Kyaku, I've talked about the live action adaptation. The manga is now being published in English. It's about a cop who his partner has been kidnapped and probably killed, and he's looking for her. So he has to team up with a Yakuza boss who is actually this girl's sister. No, she's his sister, right? So they have to team up and they have to fake date in order to like do this undercover operation, and it's just incredibly gay. I love it so much. But in this storyline, like the main character, the police officer, begins to see how much corruption there is in his world, and like because he's been taught to do the right thing, to perform what he believes is justice, and then he sees the underworld and literally is being made worse, but technically being made better because the world is actually a deeply cruel and corrupted place. And it's very interesting to see the dynamic shift and like see how the Yakuza character is influencing him and his beliefs and his moral standings, so to speak.
Which is what I wanted for Honto Yaju, but the writer is a coward and won't let me have what I want.
Well, you don't know that. It's not over yet.
If they fucking do a heel turn after 50 fucking chapters, I'm jumping off a bridge.
It's so funny. Oh my god, there are so many diversions in this episode. But like, no, but like, it's so funny how if this was like, if it's a shonen, like 50 chapters, that's not even a year. And then in BL,
that's maybe 2 seasons.
Yeah, like in BL, it's like 50 chapters. That's 15 years.
Yeah. I don't even know if it's 50. I feel like it's more. I feel like it was 50 when I was still reading it. I feel like we might be in the hundreds.
I don't know, because again, I fell off a long time ago. One day I will read it.
I'm not Googling it. If you want to Google it for me, that'd be great.
I will Google on my phone because someone is being threatening in front of my keyboard.
He's just trying to protect us so we're not here all day. We
still
have multiple points to get through.
Oh my god. Okay, let's see. Honto Yaju.
Yes.
17 volumes ongoing. Okay, but chapters though. How many chapters?
Did you just say 17 volumes?
Yes.
Fuck me running.
Let's see. chapter. No, okay, but I want to know how many. Can you just tell me?
I think we're good at knowing 17 volumes.
Yeah, but I'm curious. I need to know. I need to know how many chapters are there.
Hello, listeners. If you're still here, we deeply appreciate you.
We love you.
We love you.
I'm so sorry. This is.
We're sorry we're like this. Carola, can we come back now?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Wait. Oh yes.
Did you find it?
I'm rephrasing. Tell me, Google. No, see, because it doesn't want to. I just keep getting hits from 2008.
Okay. I think we're good.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're good. But when things are not always sunshine and rainbows and butterflies, it's nice to have these characters that are a little bit more morally gray, that aren't exactly villains, but just aren't great. Like, again, calling House a villain feels wrong. He's not a villain. He's an asshole.
Not a villain. Yeah.
He's not a villain. Now, has he done monstrous things? Yeah, a lot of them. Like driving his car into his ex-girlfriend's house, trying to kill her, her child, and her new boyfriend.
That's a perfectly sane and good thing to do.
But I think also, and I'm going to try to save this for later, I think a big thing about House is framing, because he's never praised for doing something like that. Like, he goes to jail for attempted murder. Like, promptly after that. Spoiler for House, I guess. There's an arc where he's in a mental institution because, he tried to kill his ex-girlfriend. And he meets this guy who has this Superman delusion that he's a hero. And he finally thinks he can break this guy out of his delusion, even though House is not a psychiatrist or a decent human being. He thinks he can break this guy of his delusion, and he doesn't. And the guy ends up jumping to his own death. He ends up dying. Yeah. It's really sad. It's actually very
Jesus
sad.
Christ.
But he faces consequences immediately after that. But we're going to talk about framing in the live, because if we talk about framing now, we will be here
forever.
So, also, adaptational attractiveness. Sometimes they're fucking hot. Yes. So we have this issue with especially your American horror stories. I remember watching Hotel and them doing The Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, and it's like, why is he not a gross goblin man?
Yeah, you know. No, but it's I have not seen I think I fell off. I'm so mad because I started watching the season with Kathy Bates with the witches, with the coven.
I did like that one.
And I fell off, and I was like, I'm so mad because I love Kathy Bates and I was so excited. So I haven't seen anything beyond that, and I haven't seen the American Horror Stories ones. But it's it's very much the same, because the guy who played Sylar in Heroes, he was in Murder House, right? Was he a bad guy in Murder House?
Were there good guys in Murder House?
No, maybe there were no good only bad guys. Yeah.
New sticker coming to the shop. Were there good guys in the Murder House?
And it's so funny because this is talking about a specific murder house, but could be any murder house.
It could be any fucking murder house.
Let's be honest. It could be the murder house.
It could be.
Could be. No, but it's I am so, and it's this is not me. This is not uniquely me. This is why they do it, right? But you are so more likely to enjoy a horrible, terrible character if they're hot.
Yeah.
It's
So that's the thing with me that I think is really, really interesting is that, again, relying on Game of Thrones because it's a house full of bad men that I like a lot. If Nikolai Caster-Waldau was not as hot as he is, I would not like Jaime Lannister, a literal incest demon. I would not like Tywin Lannister as much as I do if it wasn't Charles fucking Dance. I love Oberyn Martell, not just because he's everyone's sassy bisexual uncle, but because he's played by Pedro Pascal at his hottest.
But like, yeah, exactly. Like, what are you gonna do? It's like it's like I say a lot of the time. It's like I am just one simple little Chew. I cannot resist the powers that be in this. Like, I don't know, someone. And that's the thing. Like, we've talked. I mean, I've talked on this podcast about my beloved, beautiful, sociopathic mass murderer battle royal child Kazuo, and like,
you have,
he has issues. Okay,
you don't say it.
But he's so fucking pretty. And I like the amount of times that I have watched something where a character appears and they have like the messy spiky hair and murderous tendencies, and I fall in love with them like that because they remind me of him.
But yeah, like the problem is oftentimes they're very attractive, and we're going to talk about baby girlification shortly. But oftentimes these awful characters are incredibly attractive. Not all of them. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Hugh Laurie is a very handsome man. I think him as House looks like chewed gum.
True. I mean, to me, Hugh Laurie is always going to be the oh so stupid but also kind of pretty Prince Regent. Like, that is
like, don't get me wrong, I think Hugh Laurie is a very attractive man. As House, that man looks like gum you find under a bench.
You are not wrong. No offense to Hugh Laurie.
No offense to Hugh Laurie, who's not listening.
Can you imagine if it was?
We just get one email. It's like, hello, this is Hugh Laurie. I've heard about your episode. But most of the times they're hot and or incredibly charismatic.
Yeah.
Which I think there's this really, really long video essay about the Jack family, which is one of my favorite missing persons cases. That talks about
to Google.
So the Jack, my tangent. So the Jack family is a case of a family in Canada that got lured out of their home with the promise of a job doing logging. The entire family was kidnapped. The children, the mom, the dad, everyone. 30 years ago. Of course, the Mounties were racist and didn't do anything. Shocking. We still don't know where the Jack family is. It's been so long. They are, of course, very much presumed dead. But no one has an idea of where they're buried, what happened, or anything. But with the Jack family, there's this... It happens along the Trail of Tears, where especially Indigenous people tend to go missing. When the story first came out, I was like, oh, and this evil mastermind, rose out of the forest and took this family. And in that video essay, the essayist proposes, this likely was not an evil genius. This was not some brilliant person. This was a guy who made a decision, and it was fatal. So when we look at so many of our problematic faves, a lot of them are the perfect combination of hot and charismatic.
Yeah.
Again, I would not like Tywin Lannister if it wasn't Charles fucking Dance. I don't like him in the books because it's not Charles Dance. I'm here because it's Charles Dance. Who plays one of my favorite versions of Eric in the Phantom of the Opera, where he punches out a fake deer. I've told you that.
The fake deer?
He sets up this woodland scene for his Christine, including those fake target deer that you shoot at. to practice. And of course, she's not impressed. And like as he's leaving, he punches it out and it falls over. It's the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Okay, sure, yes.
So they're oftentimes the best versions of charismatic and hot. Also, hello, thanks. It's the trauma. When you have experienced stuff, it is much easier to side with these characters who are maligned, who have been through a lot, who aren't exactly perfect, because we are often not exactly perfect. My entire existential crisis looking at Dobby and being like, oh, that's just Eric from the Phantom of the Opera. That's why I love him. He's just Eric. He's a dramatic theater kid who has some father issues, and he's willing to make everyone
only some, only a few,
small,
a couple,
reasonable amount of father issues. And he wants to make it everyone else's problem.
Yeah. And you know what? I respect that in a character sometimes. Like, one thing is the trauma and being able to relate. But it's also like sometimes you just have a bad day and you wish that you could make it literally everyone else's problem.
Happy 4th anniversary to Dobby Dance and Dobby revealing his real name.
Yes.
That's why we lost the election. We didn't have Dobby Dance to protect us.
You know,
That's why we lost.
I can't live like this.
We would have won if whatever happens to him hadn't happened. Because I can't tell you because it's spoilers. Let's talk about our favorite aspect of this, which is that this is an incredibly social phenomenon.
Yes.
We share our horrible men. We talk about our horrible men. We write fan fiction about our horrible men. We make fan cams about our horrible men.
We bond over our horrible men.
We bond over our horrible men.
And the memes.
The memes. We can quote our horrible men.
We can cosplay our horrible men.
We have cosplayed so many of our favorite horrible men.
And I will continue to do so.
I'm cosplaying as Taki Aizawa next year, and you can't stop me.
If you're Taki Aizawa, who am I?
You can still be Shindo. We just know how that ends for you.
I don't want to. What you want me to do? Do the post assault makeup and like.
We're not showing him battered and fucked open. That's rude. I draw the line there.
Wow.
That's crass. Please know that I'm so deeply semi, I almost reached for my vape just so I could have like dramatic smoke. I am so deeply semi that my hand almost went towards my vape.
It's okay,
because
I'm just
this scene needed cigarette smoke.
I just traumatized myself. I just hurt myself so bad. Oh my god.
I love this. But this is a deeply social phenomenon. If you spend any time, if you follow us on Twitter, which we are trying to leave.
Are we?
Kind of. I don't like the current owner.
No. Oh, I really did hope he was going to get deported.
He might still, but that's a conversation for another day. But if you follow us on Twitter or on any of our socials, if you follow us on Discord, we are very open in talking about our horrible fictional men. We are frequently talking about our horrible fictional men.
And we're having a very good time doing it.
Yeah. Like, you could ask me how my day is going, and I'm probably going to bring up a horrible fictional man.
Or a horrible fictional, very, very round bird. who you have talked about extensively.
I love him so much.
He's just.
I love him so much. It's not fair.
You look so blissful when you're thinking about him. Like, you are actually adorable right now.
I love him so much. We're talking about Shui Wamine from Hatoful Boyfriend. I love him so much.
If you want to see Amanda be permanently like this for an entire episode, join our Patreon where we sometimes play Hatoful Boyfriend and said round bird appears.
He's so round. I love him so much. But yes, I will often be talking about a horrible murderous partridge.
And a partridge in a pear tree ready to stab you.
They actually do have official art of him being a partridge in a pear tree. And
Of course they do.
So
Of course.
next year's cosplay.
I thought you were going to be Aizawa.
I mean, I have multiple cons next year.
Hopefully so do I.
Oh my god, can we do Hatoful for Halloween next year?
I mean, we could. I want to be Sakuya.
I'm fine with that. Anyways, so there's this huge social aspect to it. It's sharing, it's talking about it. And especially in these fandom spaces, there's no guilt associated with it. I remember when I was a kid, when I was very, very young, and I would go to school, my private school, and I even then was a villain fucker. I just didn't know it. But I liked the villains more because they were dramatic, flamboyant, and had the best songs.
True.
You know, I would be... We did. I would get made fun of. It's like, well, why do you like the worst character? It's like, because he's me.
Putting the me in mean.
Right, like, why do you like the worst character? It's like, look at him. Look at and like, you know, being like 6, 7 years old and not being able to express on a higher level what I'm saying. But like, I remember having that a lot with like Disney, because, you know, like we'd watch Disney movies and yeah, like Frollo was scary, but also look at him. He has so much money and power.
Not sure I agree with that one, but
I don't need you to. You know, that's not required of you.
No, I know.
But it's like, look at him. What do you mean you don't think he's cool? Look at all that velvet. That shit's expensive.
Yes.
How tiny Amanda's brain worked. It's like, look at that shit. Look at him.
You worry me more every day.
Really? Really?
No, but like, I mean, on a more, which I think is more like, I don't know any other 6-year-old who would look at that and be like, look at all that velvet, that is expensive. But I guess, you know, you had taste and gold digging tendencies as a small.
I openly asked my parents during the yearly televised depiction of Jesus's crucifixion, which is on television in America every year. There is a made-for-TV movie about Jesus's final days, basically from Palm Sunday to his resurrection. And
is this the one with the car?
Yes.
Yes.
And it goes through his temptation in the desert, and Satan shows up as a hot man in a fancy suit, and he's driving a sports car through the desert. He manifests his own red carpet to walk on, this anachronistic red carpet, this anachronistic sports car, because this is still Jesus times. He is driving a sports car in the desert, manifests his own red carpet to walk on, and taunts Jesus with earthly riches, gold, women, sex, and power. And I looked to my horrified parents and said, why are we listening to the guy in the sandals?
And then they brought out the holy water from the refrigerator.
So if you've ever wondered, have I always been like this? The answer is yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are we listening to the man wearing sheets and sandals? That guy has a sports car.
It definitely sticks a lot deeper with you. I will say that. Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that, meanwhile, I think the closest I got was kind of like, in Mulan,
Yes.
how all the nice horses look like they're about to break because their hoofs are literal twigs, and then the Han army, like, they have actual horses.
Yeah, they have the sturdy horses.
Yeah, and so I was kind of more like, that was my, oh, look at all that velvet. I was like, they have actual horses that look like they could actually go to war with. I feel like I should side with these people. Not because I think they're right. I'm just like, I don't think the other people are going to survive in the snowy mountains with those horses.
I thought the Huns were so cool in that movie because, one, they were objectively terrible, and I don't mean like the racist implications of that, but like they were objectively like bad guys because Disney had been towing the line for a while. But these were like objectively bad guys, like that whole scene of like, how many people does it take to deliver a message? Just one. Yeah. Like, even as a child, like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah, but it's just like stuff like, Shan Yu appears, and it's like, what the fuck is wrong with your eyes? Like, is this a man or a demon? Like, why does he look like that? I mean,
they're all perpetually hunched over. Again, we don't have time for the racist implications. But yes, also Ming-Na Wen, who voices Mulan, is in ER, and her character is like this very detached, like trying to relearn her Chinese heritage, but is also like very westernized. She goes through this whole arc where she's kind of like just a slut and is just fucking everyone in the ER. So it's very, very hard. Yeah, it's very, very hard to listen to Mulan talk about getting drunk at a rave and fucking a black man, despite her parents.
I mean, Mulan is one of these films that I have such a strong bond to the Norwegian dub.
Same.
Do you have a strong bond to the Norwegian dub?
Well, I was going to say it in English, but I get what you're saying.
No, yeah, because a lot of Disney movies now I prefer to watch in English, even though I grew up with them in Norwegian, and that's kind of what resonates with me. But Mulan has to be in Norwegian. Like,
that's fair.
It's just so good in Norwegian. I also have it in Chinese, which is very interesting. Like, I like watching it in
Jackie
Chinese.
Chan?
Yeah, the Jackie Chan version.
But, tangent aside, this is a very social phenomenon. This is something that Carola and I talk about regularly. Even in our private chats, I will mention my horrible partridge.
Yes, a lot.
Shut it. I love my awful partridge.
I mean, it's been... You did mention him in our private chat a couple of days ago.
I did.
You did.
I did.
Very on brand. Yes.
Because I talked about him again in my birding server.
Yeah, and as recent as last night, you could find me on my Chaos Twitter screaming into the void how much I miss my kindergarten mafia. So, I am no better.
She still hasn't read my Matt and Mello fanfic, guys.
I haven't read a lot of things, Amanda.
I'm just saying, you still haven't read it, and I'm publishing a sequel.
I know, but it has a lot of chapters, and I like to leave extensive long comments, and for that I need more than 1 hour of awake time per day.
But this is deeply social, and I think it deadens kind of that feeling that you would normally get in liking these characters. Because if everyone likes the horrible man, he doesn't seem so horrible. Or oftentimes we are reveling in their horribleness. Very rarely are fangirls intentionally, and I mean all Fujin realistically, very rarely are we trying to truly downplay how horrible they are, rather than we are reveling in how horrible they are.
Yeah.
I have never, if you listen to me describe House, I have never downplayed anything he does. To the untrained ear, it sounds like I hate him.
But I mean, that's just how you express your love.
You haven't seen me get all blissful and bubbly talking about House like I do like the horrible partridge.
No.
That's it's a different kind of
not.
love. It's a different kind of love.
Yeah, no, I know. I have those too. It's
Speaking of, do you want to talk about baby girlification?
I do. Because I have realized that this is something I actually do, and I didn't realize.
Really?
Yeah, it has. Oh. I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. There's this. I've seen this meme on so many of my terrible men and pairings of all varieties. The little text message bubbles, the sweetheart, please talk to me, my beautiful princess with a disorder.
Me, yes.
Me with my fictional men, yes.
Yes.
So apparently, yes, I do baby girlify some of these men.
Same. So baby girlification is this really interesting social phenomena that you see, because while I think old fandom reveled truly in how awful these men were and back to performative angst, we reveled in it. So, like, one of the big reasons why, for as many years as I have openly said that I like Shao Tucker, is the shock value that it gets from people.
Oh yeah.
Not that I don't believe it.
No, but you're definitely in the minority over there.
So
on your boat.
Part of the reason I'm so vocal about it is that reaction. Not that it makes it any less hollow, because I feel like saying shock value like that makes it sound like I'm only doing this for attention. No, I do deeply like that very, very weird child murderer. But I do deeply. And of course, one of my favorite tropes with him was corrupting Ed and being like, you're a god. You can do anything. Why are you letting the state hold you down?
There are many ways to be an anarchist and go against the state, Amanda.
This isn't the one you wanted?
No. Probably not the one I would have gone with. No.
I'm just saying. But baby girlification is this, you start calling these characters baby girls and innocent meow meows. And it sounds really fun and innocent. But I can say sometimes it does worry me.
Yeah.
When we get to the aspect that isn't deeply fictional. We're going to table, can this be problematic for our live? Just for the sake of, I would like to eat lunch eventually.
I would like to get through editing this chapter I've been stuck on for a week.
So we're going to table, is this problematic and is this fetishizing gay men for the live? Don't look at me like that.
I'm not looking at you. I'm staring into the void.
But with baby girlification, because, so my Twitter background is Tywin Lannister with like the heart filter and it says senpai on it.
Oh my god.
My background on Blue Sky is Shinzo Abe and it says please have sex.
Well, at least you didn't baby girlify him.
No, I didn't baby girlify him, but but that baby girlification does happen to real murderers.
Yeah.
Because you may be thinking, dear listener, it's been an hour and 55 minutes almost, that we've been going out of our way to say fictional a lot.
Yeah, I wonder why.
It is intentional. It is a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, like very much emphasizing here that all of these men that we have
are not
talked
real.
about, they are not real.
They're not real.
Sometimes they are portrayed by flesh and blood actors,
yes,
but they are not real. And I need you to understand, I think that if you are listening to the Yaoi Shelf, you already know this, but just in case we have some stray sheep who have wandered in and for some reason is still, are still here after 2 hours. A
just some very confused sheep
character cannot hurt you. They can absolutely portray, terrible, I don't want to call it values, but like terrible things. They can definitely symbolize and put into words real life bad things, but they are still not real.
Yes. And liking that fictional character is not a one-to-one idea of what your later actions will be.
Yeah.
I sure do read a lot of non-con. That is not a reflection of who I am in real life. Because fiction and reality are two separate things.
Yes.
But with babygirlification, we have had that happen since the dawn of the social internet.
Yeah. It just it didn't have that name.
It didn't have that name, but we've had it forever of doing this to actual real bad men. Carola, do you want to talk about Columbine shooter fanfic?
No! Never! But it's there.
You want to talk about...
You want to talk about Tumblr fandoms for the Columbine shooters or the resurgence of Ted Bundy fangirls because Netflix decided to cast Zac Efron, or do you want to rewind to the 70s to the Manson girls?
Yep.
Who showed up to trial like rabid Beatles fangirls to an airport?
Yep.
And this is the kind of thing that happens particularly, at least in the case of Bundy and Manson, where the serial killer in question does not in fact look like the monster under your bed, which you have been told for such a long time.
But some of them do, and I think that also leads it back into adaptational attractiveness. So, like, Ramirez, the Night Stalker, is not a sexy man. He does look like used gum. He is not attractive. Where did he get all of his teeth back from? But when you have a hot actor playing him, suddenly that's very different. We saw that with Dahmer choosing a conventionally attractive actor. The whole point about Dahmer was that he was not attractive. That was literally the whole thing.
That and the fact that he was a serial killer and accountable.
And gay.
And again.
But, yes.
Netflix. Why?
Yes.
Why? On so many levels.
We're seeing that now with the Menendez brothers. Where it's like, these guys deserve freedom because look at them. Okay, extenuating circumstances or not, I'm pretty sure they still did a murder.
Yeah. And it's like, going back to, especially, like, I think for us, in our generation, the fact that, we are old ass, the eldritch horrors that we are, that we are, yes. We were young when Columbine happened. You've described yourself as, a part of the Trenchcoat Mafia.
I was.
Yeah, and like, I think a lot of us that have been outcasts, who have been bullied, who were the nerds, who were the, the misfits in our schools, that, there's obviously an aspect we can relate to with these types of people, but that does not equal like, even if you can go as far as to say, you know what, I understand that someday someone just snapped because they could not take it anymore, which, you know, we have seen in a lot of like fictional media, where, you know, you have because that is a thing now, that is like the staple of a lot of like particularly American like teen drama, the school shooting episode, because that is a thing that happens, right? And it's always like that one character who ends up falling, you know, like falls out of line, who, you know, struggles to fit in and whatever. And like, yeah, like obviously you can relate to some of those aspects, but that does not mean that that is the right thing to do. And that is the problem when you get to the whole baby girlification thing, and that there's the fandom that builds around it, that I can relate to them.
Yeah.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. I think also the big thing about it is age and maturity, because while I am never forgiving anyone that wrote Columbine shooter fanfic, there is a part of me that can understand being a teenager and being deeply mentally ill and not being listened to. That is not a pass. Again, I'm not condoning this behavior, but there's a part of me that was also a teenager and deeply mentally ill and writing out of the pocket shit all the time. So it's the fact that we're now, most of us, in our 30s, many of us, we're old, Carola. I'm sorry.
I know.
But repeating those mistakes unironically, unexamined, and still way past any expiration date of that being even marginally okay. Because I think one thing about especially AFAB and women is I think almost all of us go through a serial killer phase, and then some of us just don't leave.
Yeah, I was gonna say face. I don't.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like, again, massive disclaimer. Like, this should really be the BL and serial killer podcast, with the amount of time we talk about true crime on this podcast.
It's our favorite things.
But like, I just want to, again, like, massive disclaimer. We both enjoy true crime. We are both incredibly fascinated by things like cults and serial killers, but it's very much on a different level than how we consume, you know, say BL, for instance. It is not, you know, these are not the same.
I'm just trying to imagine a scenario in which the thing that we don't talk about on camera gets baby girlified.
Nope.
I'm gonna go make us new matching icons.
Oh, I hate you.
No, you don't. That's the problem.
Oh,
you
God.
Don't.
No, but my point is, like, I just, you know, again, because media literacy and, like, literacy in general is just so lacking, I just cannot stress enough how, even though we are both fascinated by this and enjoy, like, reading about it and watching documentaries about it, like, it's not, like, a fandom thing. And
no. I would not say... I did lie. Remember how I said, like, episodes ago that I don't have, like, an Eileen Wuornos t-shirt? I don't have an Eileen Wuornos t-shirt. I do have a t-shirt of H.H. Holmes' Murder Castle.
Of course you do.
My friend made it for me, and it's in black glitter vinyl.
Oh my God.
But at least that's, in theory, subtle enough that if you don't know what the Murder Castle looks like, you're just like, huh, this bitch really likes buildings. But if you know what the Murder Castle is, and you see me out in public with that shirt on,
you might want to steer clear, like, cross the street, you know, like...
I know, I would really love to talk to you about H.H. Holmes and how he invented basically insurance fraud.
God.
New t-shirt coming to the shop. Please talk to me about H.H. Holmes.
We are very well-adjusted individuals, clearly.
Don't tell my therapist.
This was supposed to be the part of the show where we emphasize how we separate fiction and reality and how we have different approaches.
I mean, I'm not gonna, like... I don't make him a baby girl. I still call him by his horrible name. Herman Budget. Like, I don't baby girl Holmes. I think he's a fascinating man.
I mean, yeah, but which is true.
Yeah, like, but that's not. But again, like, that's not baby girlification. Like, if I had like a shirt with his face on it, that's different. I am fascinated by the architecture it takes to build something that hundreds of years later is still called a murder castle.
Yeah, and like, you know, and when we talk about things like, you know, cults or serial killers, like that's the thing, right? Like there are so many levels of fascination, you know, like how
Yes.
did this happen? How did it take so long to catch them? Why
Yes.
wasn't this investigated? Like why weren't
Yes.
these clues followed? All of these things. Whereas
Yes.
if I am watching one of my terrible shows where one of my terrible men, actually my good shows where one of my terrible men shoots someone in the face, my reaction
There's no
to
mystery there.
like, yeah, and like my reaction to seeing, you know, an actual murderous character who exists to be a murderous character in this film or series or whatever, if I see him shooting someone in the face, like, first of all, that is a film trick. This is happening on screen. It's not happening for real. I don't want to see the murder victims in the serial killer documentaries, you know? Like, there's, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we've been going out of our way to say fictional because one thing that, especially as puritanical views in fandom arise, is, oh, well, look at all these women and queers making actual murderers heroes. And it's like, no. Endeavor might not be a good character, but he's not real.
And I will go out on a limb here and say that most of us queer, I mean, clearly I am still not an American, but most of us queer AFAB people who like these kind of things did not, in fact, vote for the felon / rapist in the election.
Correct. Almost like those two things aren't correlated.
Almost. You'd think that. Almost, yeah.
We're also going to shelve who are some of our favorite fictional bad men for the live, for Patreon, and because we already talked about a bunch of them.
Yes. I had to, like, again, I had to do some self-examination because I could not think of any terrible men because there's nothing wrong with them.
I had to do the same because I realized a lot of mine are just what people would consider villains, even though I don't consider them to be villains. One that is more BL adjacent, even though, again, just because we're not talking about BL doesn't mean that we don't mean BL. But I'm thinking like Magneto. Magneto is not a great person.
No, but he has a lot of good points. He also had a very messy divorce.
Several.
Yeah. Well,
we care most about the gay one, but
this is the Yaoi Shelf, not the.
This is the Yaoi Shelf. We care.
This shelf is about a straight. Like, it's like when you try to hang a shelf by yourself and it just falls down on one side. It's just
lopsided.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the completely heterosexual shelf?
How sad. Can't relate. I don't have any of those.
Yeah, I can't either. But Magneto has a lot of good points.
He does.
He's been through a lot. He's gone through it. So when he starts killing Nazis, it's like, huh. Go, Eric, go.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to be mad at someone killing Nazis.
Never. When Emma Frost what?
No, I can't remember. I was thinking of a specific film, but I can't remember what it was. But then again, how many films have you seen where there is some guy, you know, like John Wick taking revenge because, you know...
Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, or like people going on a murder spree because someone sexually assaulted their wife / daughter / them.
Django Unchained.
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna stand in your way. I'm sorry. I'm gonna cheer for that person.
Django Unchained or Kill Bill. Note they're all Tarantino movies, but like, yeah,
Yeah, because
it's
yes.
that's what he does.
Hmm.
He should really shut up though, because he's getting into that territory where he's starting to say some things that are unforgivable, and I like his movies too much, and I don't want to have to lose them. So Quentin, if you're listening, no, you're not. Quentin, Quentin, if you can hear me, inside voice, Quentin. We don't need to say everything on our minds. Sometimes it's okay to keep that inside.
Oh my god. Coming from the most unhinged podcast on this side of the internet. Just like, it's okay to not say everything.
It's okay, Quentin. You don't have to say everything. Out of all the things that I hope get clipped out with no context, it's that.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
But wow, it sure has been 2 hours and 11 minutes.
Yeah, which is, yeah. And still, there are so many things to be said.
There's so much, which is why we have a live.
Yeah. I just want to go back because I realized that I forgot a crucial part of my rant about people shooting people in the face.
Please.
Because again, if this is something that happens in real life, I'm gonna be a little about it. Because again, like I said, when Amanda introduced me to the vending machine ammo situation earlier before we started recording, I am usually not pro gun violence. I'm very much not pro firearms. However, if one of my sweet meow meow horrible men shoots someone in the face, like for instance, I'm gonna mention my favorite mafia gay, Kin, again. Like, do you understand the amount of fics I've read where he gets impatient during a meeting and then just like shoots someone, and then his mafia wife Porsche is standing over there and he's like, oh my god, he's so hot when he kills people, and then they're like going at it with, you know, the corpse still in the room, and I'm like, good for them, you know.
At least move the corpse.
I mean, they have people for that.
I love how that's my concern. It's like, at least move the corpse.
I mean, they're not gonna do it on top of the corpse.
That happened in ER a few times.
I did recently read a fic in which, I mean, it's not complete, so I don't really know what's happening, but some characters are dead and they're ghosts, and then the ghosts start getting it on, and one ghost gets pushed onto a table, and then there's a corpse there's a corpse that keeps appearing and disappearing, and the corpse appears, and he briefly possesses it while he's making out with his ghost boyfriend, and it's very uncomfortable for everyone involved.
Unrelated, on ER right now, Ming Na Wen was about to indulge in a sex scene with a black man because she has complicated racial feelings and tends to date black men because it angers her traditional Chinese parents.
As one does, I guess. I say, as a white person who, yeah.
Stay tuned after I have lunch for a long and complicated discussion about how ER treats its black doctors. So we've listed a few of our favorite. What are we doing? Have we been recording so long that it's existential now?
Can I just again, disclaimer to everyone listening. Yes, I know that this show tends to go in all directions every time, but it's been a very, very difficult week. We are hanging on by a thread. We are doing our best over here.
Correct.
Please.
Yes.
Please let a girl breathe, okay? Like, we don't know either. Oh, God.
So we have a lot to talk about in our live and in Patreon.
Yes.
Speaking of patrons help keep the show going, keeping the metaphorical and physical lights on, and allow me to be a horrible cock tease to Carola, in which I tell her I've ordered something magnificent and refuse to tell her.
That was actually very mean. And the fact that, like, Amanda literally messaged me while I had a date night with my wife, who is not my legal wife because we're not married. But she messaged me and she's like, "Are you awake?" And that is usually followed by "Go the fuck to sleep," because Amanda likes to make sure that I actually go to bed. And
I'm sorry for caring about you.
You're not my mother.
No, I'm your husband.
Great. Excuse me while I inhale some lithium. No, but and then she proceeds to go, "Good. I would like you to know that I have purchased something from the podcast for the podcast on behalf of the podcast. I'm very excited. I'm not going to tell you what it is." And I'm like, "Well, now I'm curious." And then she just
and now I've gone out of my way. Yes.
Yeah, and then she just goes, "Good. You can go to bed now." And I'm over here like, what?
You're dismissed.
Happening? I don't know. I don't know.
Now.
I know nothing. I'm very confused.
I even use my personal email so it won't show up in our inbox.
Fine.
Carola has no way of knowing what I've done.
But I have some plans of my own.
What the Agatha all along? What the fuck are you doing? We've been here for... What the fuck are you doing?
I don't know. I am going through it. I am going through it. That's...
Hello, your hosts are falling apart. But speaking of Patreon, you are welcome to join Patreon at paid levels to help keep the show going. We greatly appreciate the support of our patrons. Patrons receive an exclusive video every month and the occasional behind-the-scenes look. You guys get less behind-the-scenes looks because our behind-the-scenes looks are checks notes awful.
And a lot of them are actually in the show because we don't really edit out anything.
So
unless it's an emergency.
Yeah, like that one time DLC Garamani wouldn't stop complaining because I made a comparison to another thing.
They weren't complaining.
It was in our contract, blah, 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 blah.
I was also thinking about, like things like when sometimes there are technical difficulties and we physically have to go in and edit because like there are bits that just suddenly disappear.
I also love that I just fully outed one of our clients being weird. Don't mind me. It's been 2 hours.
This is something that probably should be edited out, by the way.
I'm not.
They were not complaining. It was just that we made a mistake and we had to do some editing before we could release the episode. And we were in contact and it was fine. And no one was mad. And we loved the L site. Shut up.
Carola puts on the PR pants for once.
But I love them, Amanda!
Carola puts on the PR pants for once.
For once. I can.
You don't.
I just don't.
This is the part of the show where we thank our patrons, including, let's see, Starlight, Kenny, Dobie80, Koval, Sue, Lucy H, Amora Blue, Nabila, Ren, Wesley, Jamie, Lauren, and Jay. Thank you so much for supporting the show.
Thank you.
You will get your special episode likely next week because I am actually traveling for Thanksgiving this year.
I mean, I act like I didn't know that.
You did. Like, I haven't told you weeks
I
in
did
advance.
know that, but my brain is...
Like, this is new information.
Yeah, I've never heard this before in my life. It's not like we've talked about it or anything.
I'm actually going to see my family this year for Thanksgiving.
That is very nice.
In California, which is a blue state, so I should be mostly safe.
Good.
No ammo vending machines.
Again, if you're curious, do you know what an ammo vending machine is? Have you ever seen one? Let us know in the comments, where we will also encourage you to tell us who is your favorite horrible fictional man.
Yeah, we would love to hear it. I think the social aspect is the thing that I was always the most surprised about because it seems like we're okay with being very, very open socially about certain horrible men, but not other horrible men. And that's fascinating to me. Like, where on the scale is someone too horrible that we
Yeah,
don't talk about them?
and I love, like, one of the things I love so much about the social aspect is like when you know when your friend comes to you and start talking like, I started watching this show and there's this guy, and then they start like listing all of these atrocities that this character has
Yes.
done, and then they end it with, and I love him, and it's
Right.
like, yes,
And we're just saying, like, with popcorn, it's like, yes.
tell me more.
Because that's your favorite character, and you're like, yeah, that's my husband.
Yeah, or like, tell me more. I want to get in on this.
Tell me more about this horrible man.
I love that. I love that.
But thank you so much for sticking with us during this episode. Thank you so much for listening in general. Again, as this episode comes out, we understand that this has been one hell of a week. So hopefully we can make you laugh a little bit during this episode. Also, please know if you are curious about resources for activism, help, assistance, or anything of the like, feel free to drop us a message in our Discord. I have been gathering resources because right now that is how I can channel my pain into feeling useful.
And if you are in the Discord, or if you join the Discord and you need someone to talk to, you want to vent your feelings, or you just need a distraction, come on over. We have all of those things.
We do. So I actually forgot to put in what we're covering next month, but Carola did it perfectly for me. So Carola,
I'm so pleased.
what are we covering for our last episode of the year?
What? Is it? Oh, yeah. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. Right, because next month is actually December.
Carola, confused about space and time.
I genuinely, I mean, I know we're in November. I think I'm confused because I'm not writing. I'm editing instead of writing this month. So I thought next month was also November, apparently.
No, it's December.
I am so dumb. Okay. No. Next month, we are going to cover a topic that is very close to our hearts, as we are going to talk about a character type who easily falls victim to these terrible, terrible bad men. It is finally time to talk about the clueless uke trope.
I am in pain.
Like, one part of me is so ready and so excited, but another part of me is just like, oh no! Oh dear! Oh god, why?
I am in Spain without the S.
Spain without the S! Oh my god. I think if I have the time, which, I have plenty of time because I'm supposed to be editing some books, and therefore I am getting stuff done. I am being very productive these days. I am looking to go through some of my shelves because I want to compare some clueless ukes of the past with the clueless ukes of the present.
Okay, that's not fair, because some of the ukes of our past are dumb as fucking bricks.
I know, but I want to see which ones I can dig out from this day and age who are also dumb as bricks, even though they shouldn't be because they have resources. That
Stairs in Sasaki and Miyano.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they have resources that Ayase from Okaleganai had no way of getting his little tiny hands on.
So that's what we're talking about next month. Thank you guys so much for being here for what is, I am now certain, might be our longest episode.
How does this keep happening?
Well, Carola, you see, we both have untreated or undertreated ADHD.
I do not have ADHD, actually.
I don't believe you.
I have a lot of other things.
Yes, and I just took my meds this morning.
And I do have a bloodstream that is about 90% Red Bull at this point, so there's that.
Yeah, this is bound to happen. So thank you guys so much for listening. We are here for you, and we appreciate you so much. just take some time to do some self-care, whether you're an American or not, because I understand how stressful this is for other nations. Just take some time to do some self-care. I hope
Please
that
take
this
care of
episode,
yourselves.
I hope this episode can make you smile. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything, let us know in ye old comments below, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.